Have you ever looked around and realized, this life doesn't even feel like yours anymore? Like you're just existing, not really living? You're not alone. Today let's talk about how to slowly, intentionally rebuild a life that finally feels like it's truly yours again. It's a quiet sort of ache, isn't it? That feeling when you're moving through the motions, ticking off the boxes, and yet there's this profound sense of displacement. Like you're wearing clothes that don't quite fit, living in a house that someone else decorated. We build these elaborate structures, these lives, based on expectations on what we should want or what others tell us we need. And then one day we wake up, look in the mirror, and barely recognize the person staring back. This journey back to ourselves, it's not about a grand explosion or a dramatic reinvention overnight. It's about courage. The courage to be honest, to be vulnerable with ourselves first. It's about peeling back the layers gently with compassion, to find that spark, that authentic self that's been waiting patiently. We're going to explore how to acknowledge where we are, how to reconnect with what truly matters, how to let go of what's holding us back, and how to build, brick by vulnerable brick, a life that feels like home. The first step is to simply acknowledge that something feels off. It sounds easy, right? But it takes a tremendous amount of courage to stop and admit that the life we're living isn't aligning with who we are, or who we want to be. We're so good at numbing, at distracting ourselves. We scroll, we busy ourselves, we fill every spare moment, often to avoid that quiet whisper that says, hey, this isn't it. But that whisper, that's where the truth lives. This acknowledgement isn't about blame or shame, it's about honest assessment. It's about saying, okay, this is where I am, this is what I'm feeling, and it's okay to feel this way. Think about it. When did you last feel truly, deeply yourself? When did you last feel that sense of alignment where your actions and your values were singing the same song? We get caught up in the current of expectations from family, from society, from our jobs, even from ourselves. The pressure to conform, to achieve, to please can be immense, and slowly, piece by piece, we can lose touch with our own inner compass. This disconnection often manifests as a kind of low-grade exhaustion, a persistent feeling of being overwhelmed, or even a sense of apathy. The world keeps telling us to hustle harder, to optimize, to be more productive, but what if the real work is to slow down and listen? What used to light me up before the world told me who I should be? This question, it's a powerful one. It invites us to dig a little. It asks us to remember. Before the shoulds and supposed tos piled up, what made your heart sing? What activities made you lose track of time? Sometimes the path back begins with remembering those forgotten parts of ourselves. It's okay if this process feels uncomfortable. Vulnerability always does. Acknowledging disconnection means facing the reality that maybe we've drifted further than we realized. But here's the beautiful truth. Awareness is the first step toward change. You cannot heal what you don't acknowledge. This isn't about tearing everything down in a fit of despair. It's about a conscious, compassionate inventory. So I invite you, just for a moment, to sit with that feeling. If there's a disconnect, where do you feel it most profoundly? Is it in your work, your relationships, your daily routines, your relationship with yourself? This act of gentle, non-judgmental observation is an act of profound self-compassion, and it's the fertile ground from which all true rebuilding begins. Once we've acknowledged that sense of disconnection, the next step is to begin, ever so gently, to reclaim what was ours. This isn't about a massive overhaul overnight, it's about small, intentional acts of reconnection. Think of it like tending to a neglected garden. You start by pulling a few weeds, by adding a little water, by seeing what still has life in it. So often, when we realize we're off track, our first instinct is to make grand, sweeping changes. But more often than not, the most sustainable, most authentic shifts begin with tiny steps. What did you love before you got too busy? What brought you a sense of simple, uncomplicated joy? Start with just 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes dedicated purely to something that nourishes soul can be revolutionary. It's a statement. It says, I matter. My joy matters. My inner life matters. What could you do with 10 minutes? Maybe it's listening to a piece of music that moves you without doing anything else. Maybe it's stepping outside and feeling the sun on your face or the breeze in your hair. Perhaps it's picking up that dusty guitar or writing a few lines in a journal, not for any purpose, but just for the act of expression itself. It could be sketching, dancing in your living room, or simply sitting in silence and noticing your breath. The what is less important than the why, and the why is to reconnect with. This process of reclaiming is deeply personal. What lights one person up might feel like a chore to another. Don't judge your answers. If it brought you genuine joy and a sense of connection to yourself, it's valid. Sometimes the things we need to reclaim are not even activities but states of being. Perhaps you need to reclaim stillness in a life filled with constant motion. Or maybe you need to reclaim playfulness in a life that has become too serious. Or perhaps it's reclaiming your voice, starting to say no to things that drain you, and yes to things that feel like a return to yourself. This isn't about adding more to your to-do list, it's about infusing your existing life with more of what truly feeds your spirit. Be patient with this. It can feel awkward at first, especially if it's been a long time. You might feel rusty, you might feel silly. That inner critic might pipe up with all sorts of reasons why this is a waste of time. Gently thank that voice for its concern, and then do it anyway. Think of it as relearning a language you once knew. The words might come slowly at first, but with practice it starts to flow again, and with each small act of reclamation, you're strengthening that connection to your authentic self. Let go of the life you built for others, making space for you. As we start to reclaim parts of ourselves, we inevitably come face to face with the things in our lives that don't nourish us. These are the commitments, the habits, the relationships, even the beliefs that we may have adopted, not because they were true for us, but because they were expected. Letting go is not about failure. It's not about giving up in a negative sense. Letting go is not giving up, it's making room. When we let go of what no longer serves us, we're not losing something, we're creating space. Space for our authentic selves to breathe, to expand, to show up more fully in our lives. This can be challenging because often the things we need to let go of are deeply intertwined with our identity. It might be a certain career path that brings external validation, but no internal joy. It might be relationships that drain our energy rather than replenish it. It could be the relentless pursuit of perfection, or the need to please everyone. The fear of disappointing others is a big one here. We worry about what people will think if we step off the prescribed path, if we change our priorities. But we cannot live a life that is true to ourselves if we are constantly trying to meet the expectations of everyone else. Start small here too. You don't have to make drastic cuts all at once. Maybe it's letting go of one commitment that consistently leaves you feeling depleted. Perhaps it's setting a boundary around your time, like not checking emails after a certain hour. It could be unfollowing social media accounts that make you feel inadequate or envious. Each small act of letting go creates a little more breathing room, a little more energy that you can then reinvest in the things that truly matter to you. Sometimes what we need to let go of are old beliefs about ourselves. These limiting narratives can keep us tethered to a life that doesn't fit. Letting go of these stories requires us to challenge them, to look for evidence to the contrary, and to begin slowly to write a new, more empowering story for ourselves. Think about the energy you expend maintaining things that no longer align with who you are becoming. Letting go of that boat, as scary as it might seem to be in the water for a bit, frees up all that energy. It allows you to find or build a new vessel, one that is seaworthy and heading in the direction your heart truly wants to go. Build brick by brick, the architecture of an authentic life. We've acknowledged the disconnect. We've started to reclaim those parts of ourselves that got lost. And we've begun the courageous work of letting go of what no longer serves us. Now comes the beautiful, ongoing process of building. Not building from scratch necessarily, but building with intention, with awareness, with the bricks of our authentic selves. You're not starting over, you're returning home to yourself. This isn't about erasing the past, it's about integrating all of who you are into a life that truly reflects you. Building brick by brick means focusing on small, consistent actions that align with your values and your rediscovered passions. If you've reclaimed a love for creativity, maybe a brick is dedicating 30 minutes 3 times a week to that creative practice. If you've realized the importance of stillness, maybe a brick is establishing a short daily meditation or quiet reflection time. These aren't grand gestures, they are the steady foundational practices that, over time, create a life of meaning and authenticity. Think about the rituals and routines that make up your days. Are they supporting the life you want to build, or are they remnants of the life you're moving away from? A morning ritual, for example, can set the tone for the entire day. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It could be as simple as waking up a few minutes earlier to savor a cup of tea in silence. These small acts of self-care are powerful bricks. This building process is also about cultivating relationships that nourish you and reflect the person you are becoming. As you become more aligned with your authentic self, you may find that your needs in relationships change. You may gravitate towards people who see and support your true self, and you may need to create healthier boundaries in other relationships. Building a supportive community, even if it's just 1 or 2 trusted individuals, is like adding strong, supportive beams to the structure of your life. It's important to remember that this is an iterative process. You'll lay a brick, step back, see how it feels. Sometimes a brick won't fit quite right, and that's okay. This isn't about perfection, it's about learning and adjusting. The key is to stay engaged with the process, to keep checking in with yourself. Does this feel true? Does this support the life I am intentionally creating? Patience is paramount here. We live in a world that often demands instant results, but building an authentic life is slow, organic work. Trust that your consistent small efforts are making a difference, even when you can't see it immediately. The brave and beautiful return home. This journey of rebuilding, of finding yourself again, it's not a destination you arrive at one day and then you're done. It's a practice. It's a way of living. It's a commitment to showing up for yourself day after day with honesty, courage, and a whole lot of compassion. There will be days when it feels easy, when the path is clear, and there will be days when it feels like you're wading through mud. Both are part of the process. Both are opportunities for growth, for learning, for deepening that connection with your true self. You deserve a life that feels like your own, one that's rooted in authenticity, not exhaustion. Be patient with the process. You're not broken, you're rebuilding, and that's brave. So, take these ideas, these invitations, and see what resonates. Start small, be kind to yourself. Like, subscribe and follow for more reflections on healing, growth, and living from your true self.